I'm Joan Steinau Lester, and this is a brief excerpt from my memoir, Loving Before Loving, A Marriage in Black and White. And this scene takes place in 1962. And on the first day that I met the man who would become my husband, Julius Lester, the writer. We are both camp counselors, and it's our first day of work. How many times had I even talked to a Negro man? When I'd worked in New Haven, my friend Eleanor Holmes, a law student, had often taken me to her Yale Law School dining hall. There I had stared at dark waiters in white gloves who stood silently in front of red velvet drapes covering the windows. It looks like the old South, I'd thought, though I dined with a Negro woman. How can you stand seeing them all lined up on the side of the room? I once asked Eleanor. Look, they have jobs. But it's a segregated job. And wearing those red jackets and white gloves, it's humiliating. This is 1961. It's just like a white liberal to want to take away their jobs, she muttered. Okay, I said with a sigh. I'm glad they have jobs, but these are so embarrassing. How must they feel? Grateful, she spat out. They can feed their families, pay their rent. Get practical, girl. This is a good job. If they can swallow their self-respect. I bit into my chicken, which tasted of the bile rising into my mouth. Self-respect doesn't put food on the table, she snapped. A paycheck does. I give them respect every time I see them, and they acknowledge me. Here she waved to one of the waiters who hurried to our table. Sir, she began, showing me how it was done. I had chatted with a few Negro men on a New Haven picket line when we were protesting Woolworth's segregated lunch counters, but I'd never flirted the way I was with this guitar-playing man, actually batting my eyelashes. Evidently, I was equally beguiling on this first day at Camp Gulliver. After 20 minutes of chatter, Julie smiled broadly and asked, Want to walk into town after lights out? Sure, I nodded, pleased. And then, wanting to continue the conversation, I blurted, Boy, it's hot. Don't call me boy. Julie whipped around, dropping his guitar on the grass so fast that dust rose. His large eyes glared through his glasses. I stepped back, confused. I wasn't calling you boy. It's only an expression, just a word. It's so hot. I wiped perspiration from my face to demonstrate. Not to me, it's not just a word. Grown Negro men have been called boy for generations. His deep voice turned sharp. They're not called by their names or Mr. Anybody by white people. They're called boy. Don't you ever say that to me. I won't. I didn't know about it. I'm sorry. Still, his generous mouth turned down and his jaw muscles clenched. I'm sorry, I said again. I wasn't calling you that. Who could know about all this history, about a simple word that could make a grown man jump? I held my breath. His jaw muscles rippled. As he stood draped in his fierce pride, I liked him even more. What could I do to make up for my blunder? Do you still want to go into town tonight? I asked quietly. He remained silent. I waited. His thin, tense face looked as if he might explode again. When I began to walk away, I heard a soft yeah and the sound of an exhale. I turned back and said, I'm sorry once more for good measure. And that was it, 59 years ago. And then we did get married and have children. And the rest is the story of the book.